Hey YouTube, it's Elvis Ammo here. Hey, today we're going to do some 300 blackout subsonic with my 230 grain missiles, and we're going to do a full 30, and we're going to put this one through the test with my new Fostech trigger. I told you we'll be doing some testing with it and just see if we can get some accuracy out of it's a trigger. You pull it, it fires, you let it go, it fires. So I see that as like a 2-round burst by pulling it and letting it go. And we'll just see. I got another mag and we'll just test on paper and see if we can get some accuracy on double taps or 2-round bursts of the big old 300 blackout subsonic ammo. And then we're going to do a full 30 of supersonics 300 blackout on some steel and just see if I can hold it steady. I must confess, it takes some getting used to with this trigger. So, you know, further testing will be done, and I'm going to need more experience with this trigger as well. But it looks pretty promising, and so let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do some 2-round bursts, and then we're going to do a full 30 as full automatic as we can get with my new Fostech Echo Trigger. And then when we get done, we'll talk about my experience and we'll look at the target. Alright, see what we can do here. Trying to get a good angle here where you can kind of see my finger on the trigger. And the first thing we're going to do is going to put in this mag. And what we've got here is a selector. We can go to fire or echo mode. Fire, safe, fire, echo, or 2-round bursts. Alright, so this is ATF approved. We're in safe. Going to drop the bolt, and I'm going to go ahead and put it in echo mode. Everybody knows what single action or semi-automatic action looks like. So we're going to go ahead and do some 2-round bursts on the target. You'll get to see the target and just see if we can make something positive with 2-round bursts on paper and shoot a group that way. Alright, here we go. I didn't pull it back all the way. I didn't pull it back. Alright. just to pull me to the left. And that was it. We'll have to talk about that round I just ejected. I think I ejected it premature. I shouldn't have done that. It just needed to recycle the trigger, and we'll talk about that. Actually glad that happened, so we can discuss that about the Echo Trigger. Alright, so now what we'll do is we'll look at that group. But first, we're going to go ahead and go into full auto mode. and just see if I can stay on the steel. It's kind of a chest plate type size steel, and see if we can stay on that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and move my target out of the way, just so I don't get any strays on it if I can't hold it on target. Alright. Full 30, baby. Let's see if we can just keep it on target. I'll be happy. We're in echo mode. Have a little fun. I didn't do too bad. I stuttered a couple of times, but let's take a look at that footage and we'll talk about my experience with this trigger so far and what just happened. You can pull it back all the way. All right, we done good. I mean, I'll be honest with you. You know, here on the Elvis Ammo show, I try to contain myself as best I can, so I don't look like an idiot. But it's not easy. I had a blast, man. Oh, that is so fun. It really is. I know. Every time I shoot, I say the same old thing. I'm so excited and all that. But man, I'm just being honest. That was a whole lot of fun. So let's talk about what just happened. Now we shot that out of the, you know, with our Fostech Echo Trigger. With our Fostech Echo Trigger, we put it in our lower on our AR-15s, and if you have an upper that is compatible with a mil-spec lower, then you can change calibers and pound that thing with some full auto, you know, or 2-round bursts, or in this case, those rounds that we shot, I estimated was under 4 seconds for 30 rounds with my inexperience with the trigger. Which I could probably speed that up by maybe 1/3. So if you want to go through a lot of ammo quick, just be faster than that. Or just be that fast, because that's a lot of ammo right down the drain, you know. But what I wanted to show is I wanted to have some fun, of course, and also wanted to, you know, find a practical use for the trigger. And you know, first of all, I know many folks, you know, probably didn't expect me to shoot, you know, a full auto subsonic ammo. I know somewhere out there I said supersonic, and I didn't correct myself. It was all subsonic that I fired today. So let's take a look at this this target. You seen it on film. So, you know, this is the target with me. You know, honestly, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this test, not just laser beam, you know, laying on it and trying to pinpoint accurate and nothing like that. Now, I will do those. However, I will do some pinpoint accuracy as best I can, you know, with this trigger to see what I can do. But that's not what today was about. This group that I put on, I really wanted just to see, and you know, I laid on the, I was standing up, you know, setting it on the table there, and because really what I wanted to do is I wanted to have as best a chance of keeping the rifle still, you know, and keeping it on point as I can in today's test. Later I will do, you know, some accuracy testing just standing and doing that, you know, and from different distances and that kind of thing. But this was not laser beaming, pinpoint accurate or anything like that. And this is the group that I put, and you've seen how I shot. I mean, I wasn't, you know, taking no time with it. So this is find out where my tape measure is. This is yeah, about 3 3/4. About 3 3/4 of an inch. You know, for pulling the trigger and letting it go kind of thing. Did I measure those down there? Yeah. Yep, 3 3/4 with the 2 that I dropped there. I think when I started out I was working this group, and then after I messed myself up and pulled that round out, I started shooting another group. Basically, is what I'd done, or that's what it looked like or felt like that I'd done. But anyway, yeah, for 2-round bursts, I mean, you can certainly put them. And in other testing that I've done, you know, I've just pulled it up and fired 2 rounds, and I did have the bullet land one beside the other. But it all comes down to your skill level with the trigger finger, you know, and you know, getting the feel of this trigger. On this Fostech trigger, you seen where I ejected around out there. I ejected around. Well, I shouldn't have done that, because I've had this same experience already. And what happens is this trigger has to cycle all the way. So you rack it, you pull the trigger, and bolt goes back, and then it fires when you let it go. And if you try to control that trigger like we're used to doing, trigger control, you don't want to do that with this trigger, because if I did, what would happen is nothing. Dead trigger right there. I just held the trigger like I would normally do with trigger control. Alright, and then it fired on the let go. But say I did that and then I didn't pull it all the way back on the next round. What happens is then you got to actually pull the trigger all the way back. Let it go, and you may even have to pull the trigger again or you pull it, let it go, pull it, and it'll fire. But you won't know that if you don't go ahead and cycle that trigger like that. Pop, you know, go ahead and run a cycle on it. So I prematurely ejected the round. It was in battery. It was locked in battery and everything. So anyway, it's some getting used to it, because there's quite a bit of travel in this mode right here. And the reason I'm talking about this, see that travel right there? It's quite a bit of travel, because you know, when you pull it back, it drops the hammer. You let it go, it drops the hammer. You pull it back, it drops the hammer. Let it go, it drops the hammer. And if you miss letting it go all the way, or miss pulling it all the way back, then you have to cycle the trigger one full cycle. Pull, let go, pull. Something like that. But the reason I was talking about that is one of you guys had mentioned to me that there was a guy on YouTube that done a little bit of work with this trigger. So if you have this trigger or thinking about getting this trigger, his name is this guy does quite a bit of work, and I have to give the guy credit. I mean, the guy knows what he's doing. It sounds like he's been, you know, working on this trigger, doing some modifications. He may even help Fostech in some way, I'm not sure. But what he was doing was he was working out the trigger to where there's not that much pull and release. Now we know how these mods go. You know, it's up to us, you know, to be safe in these ways. So for right now, I'm gonna leave my trigger like it is. But there is some simple things that he shows that you can do to the trigger to help it break a little faster. So, you know, if you wanted more speed on the trigger, you know, kind of thing. But it's his handle is mbell, M-B-E-L-L, lowercase letters, 556, mbell 556. You should really check that out on his Fostech modifications. He goes into great detail and depth with several videos on it. And you know, mbell, you know, if you're listening, you know, I appreciate that. That was some good footage there, and I'll be looking at it again and looking at whatever you're doing to update that footage as well. But anyway, that's why I said I was kind of glad that happened, you know, because it reminded me that there's some things about the trigger to know. So don't give up. Go ahead and cycle that trigger. You know, especially if you're in battery. If that bolt's closed, more than likely you just need to cycle that trigger. And then on the steel, I pretty much, I was trying to, that steel is about 10 inches wide and about 14 inches tall, something like that. So, what I tried to do is, at first when I started shooting, I was shooting low on it, and I seen where, you know, that steel was lifting up on me, and I fired a couple of rounds under it. So I just aimed a little bit higher, and I think I kept everything right on it. So I mean, you'll determine that, you know, in the footage. But you know, in closing here, you know, this trigger, you know, 2 round bursts. I'm telling you, man, that thing, you know, for self-defense or you know, full auto. I mean, the full auto mode, you know, and you know, full auto. But this is an approved trigger by the ATF for anybody that lives in a free state. You know, here in the not so United States of America. So 2 round bursts. You know, pulling that trigger. That's, you know, pop pop. You know, pop pop. It really works good. I'm impressed so far, but I will say, takes some skill. You know, you gotta build a skill up to use this trigger. You know, to be very proficient with it. So, you know, super excited. I hope you enjoyed that full auto, man, on that steel. It worked. You know, you seen there was a couple of hiccups. It's kind of hard to tell. You know, because things are moving so fast. but you seen a couple of stutters or something. That's where I cycled the trigger, and you don't really know you're doing it, but see, that's how the Fostech trigger is designed. It's designed to, instead of malfunction, it's designed to lock the trigger when the bolt don't go into battery fully. So that's what happens, and that's why you got to pull that trigger all the way and let it go. So the skill is with us. But hey, you know, we fired a full 30 at warp speed, you know, under 4 seconds, and so anyway, that's about it. I hope you enjoyed that. We did the 2-round burst done fabulous in my opinion on paper. I have done this was another one that I shot just playing around, and I just still had the paper, and I fired pop 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 pop, you know, 4 rounds, and they were all right there. This one right here was one that, you know, I squeezed the trigger and let it go, and when I did, I jerked and pulled. That's how bad I pulled that shot, you know, by doing that. So anyway, YouTube, that's my that's some of the fun that I'm having and some of my experience with the Fostech trigger. And I wanted to show you guys a full automatic 300 blackout subsonic ammo Fostech Echo style. I'll see you in the next video.